every day. Yeah. And then going to fancy restaurants, and yeah, that's why Vancouver has so many restaurants. Like,
it's also weird to see when you watch the news or you read the articles. It's like almost like a big majority of the articles are pinpointed towards the mainland Chinese versus any other ethnic.
I think you can see it more often because if you go to UBC, it's the Chinese kids that are getting, or Asian kids. You know, they're also the Koreans, right? Like, and Japanese, they're getting the best grades. So you can see, when it's time for scholarship, it's mostly Asian kids, right? If it's the math Olympics or whatever, it's Asian kids are like number 1, number 2, and number 3. So there's that natural sense of competition, and they're like, we're being squeezed out. And this is happening also in jobs. They have better grades, they have better education. But really what I want to say is this is like Vancouver becoming a global city. You know, whether it's the money, you know, like in your case in real estate, like who's buying? It's global buyers. It's not local buyers anymore. I mean, Hawaii have the same situation. Like years ago I went to Maui and I remember finding out like locals have to work 3 jobs just to pay their rent. Just to pay their rent. And then you see tons of Filipinos working there for minimum wage. And then all you see is high-end hotels. Like there's you know, it's either like 5-star hotels like Hilton's and you know, W and whatever, or you see like, you know, little huts, right? So it's like the extreme, and that's what happened. Like they're a global city and everyone from everywhere invested, and so the locals, they can't keep up. And this is happening not just to Vancouver, it's happening in London, it's happening in Paris, it's happening in New York, it's happening everywhere.
And when they can't keep up, what do? Most of the time they just express their frustration.
For Maui, like, you know what they do? They will sell their ancestral home, get a pile of money, but then you have, let's say you have 3 kids, you know what I mean? Like the money eventually runs out. You gotta have a regular income, and I think there are multiple factors. I mean, we're becoming more automated, right? Like before, blue collar was a good job. Like if you worked at the Ford factory, you had a good, decent job, you know, that you can put your kids through university, you can live comfortably and maybe have 2 vacations a year. Now it's like, okay, can you even pay mortgage, you know, at that, and do you even have a job? Maybe 5 years later, by the time you're 50, you may get laid off, you know, before early retirement even kicks in. So blue collar jobs are gone. So the people who really are good with their hands but don't know computers, because everything now is with computers.
Digital age.
So even if you're really great with your hands, before you could be a mechanic or plumber or tradesperson, but now everything is connected to computers. So if you are good with your hands but not good with computers, you're kind of like doomed, right?
And then also people compare like, how come the same job, a consultant in Vancouver gets paid less than a consultant in Toronto? Why is that?
Really?
Like,
I didn't know that.
I meet people from my business school and my colleagues who are searching for jobs, and then the jobs in Toronto would pay higher, even though it's the same role.
I think there's more.
Same with New York, right?
I think Toronto is a much bigger city, but from what I understand, there are a lot more headquarters in Toronto.
That's right.
Like Vancouver, we barely have that many manufacturing or big companies.
A lot better than before. And as the economy grows, and more people come in and more headquarters will set up shop here.
Right.
And then eventually the wages will go up.
But I think they're a bigger city. They have more industry, more diverse industry. Vancouver, there's only a few sectors. There's forestry, there's animation, film, majority I think is hospitality and tourism, from what I can
Real
see.
estate,
like people are here to enjoy life. They're not really here to work. Like,
so I was talking about it, like how when foreign buyers come, they're actually bringing money into the province.
Absolutely.
And actually it
every
increases.
Sector. Hello, like just a restaurant, nightclub, like hospitality without international students, I hear like that's like, you know, like 50% of their income. Like if international students stop spending, because talk about the Brazilians, the Korean, the Japanese, like the Persian, like we're talking about international students from around the world, and Vancouver is very safe. Especially for female students. That's why you see so many female international students from around the world. And what about the homestay? What about, and they don't cook. They literally don't cook. They're usually from middle class or upper class families from wherever they come from. And then they come and, you know, really have a great time and stay at homestay, but they mostly go out. Like every weekend they're out. So think of every nightclub, think of restaurants downtown, like, yeah, they're packed with international students.
So my perspective was like saying, like, if you want Vancouver to pay the high-paying jobs that you see in Toronto or New York, you gotta have more money coming to the province, more businesses set up shop. Eventually, the minimum wage will increase, and then companies will pay more because the talent and competition will be.
I think Vancouver's on the right track.
Yeah,
because as our economy changed from one of manufacturing and factories to one of information, you know, I think creativity is the new path, and Vancouver is right on that. Whether it's animation, whether it's writing, you know, we have some really phenomenal writers coming out of Vancouver, filmmakers, like animators, and like people who make DIY like handicrafts. Like Vancouver is so full of entrepreneurs. What does entrepreneur mean? It just means that you're a very creative person. You know, you're selling your ideas instead of selling, you know, your ideas to turn into a physical thing, right? Or it could be a service, you know. So we're right on that track, and nowhere else in the world I think is as vibrant as Vancouver, because it's so multicultural. There's so many ideas, kind of like sparks flying from different cultures and different ideas and different generations coming together. And it's a hotbed because we're so open. You know, you can walk to any networking event and meet people from like 30 different countries, and people are willing to share their knowledge and willing to connect and willing to, you know, like, be open.
The other thing we wanted to talk about was how like people are like coming to the city and they're complaining about these mainland Chinese cheating the system in the sense that they're not paying their fair share of taxes, and they're like, you know,
what taxes?
Like loopholes in the Income Tax Act and everything like that. But I was thinking, like, you know, non-mainland Chinese, they do tax avoidance too.
There's a thing called a trust. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, it's like, so it's like, it's not just the mainland Chinese who break the law, not all of them, but like, it's not just, a certain ethnic group that commits a particular crime. There are like, you know, people of every set, like lower, like middle class, lower class, upper class, they're all like,
you know what? I really think we're not talking about the real issue. Like, it frustrates me so much that we're like, certain people are paying taxes, other people are not paying taxes. Taxes is a small thing. Like, currency inflation is a big thing. Then we're all cheated. You know, when Canadian dollar drops, then all of our value of our money goes out the window. Like, all of us, all Canadians, not just, you know, the foreign, you know, buyers here, living here. You know what I mean? So to me, like, you know, do you want to lose, let's say, like $1 million or $2 million or however much from one family, or do you care about the value of Canadian dollar? Like, the Canadian dollar's been dropping like flies. Like, why don't anyone talk about that? Like, what is actually causing that? You know, like, that is actually, like, when I go over to the United States to go outlet shopping, like, I notice a big difference. I'm like, before I could buy like 2 pair of shoes, now I can buy only 1.5 pair of shoes. Like, you know, like, why don't people talk about that? They're just like, so-and-so is not paying their taxes. Really? Like, you know, let's talk about the bigger picture, people.
Or like, those restaurants, they only take cash only. They must be cheating the government.
Yeah, right? I don't get